Hey, good morning. It's Heidi Hawk with the Builder and Real Estate Forum, brief acronym. And today I've got Tiny Irwin of Tiny Irwin Consulting. I wanted to bring him on because he previously was on with our webinar back in April, and now we are almost through with May. If you can believe that, that's absolutely nuts. But I wanted to get caught up on seeing what has happened during this last month. There's lots of changes that we've all seen, which has been businesses. I do personal finance or private financing for builders and developers and real estate investors. And boy, have I seen some serious changes, not only within what we can do as far as loans and projects that we're funding, which we still are, but I'm also seeing the cultures changing within companies, and it's been a real compelling eye-opener for me. And I thought, Tiny, I would love to hear your opinion on it. I know you manage and you consult quite a few companies. So why don't you give us a little bit of what's happened in the last 30 days or so from April to May and the shifts that you're seeing in our industry?
Right on. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Heidi. I appreciate it. It's been interesting to say the least. Having conversations with business owners and entrepreneurs, throughout multiple industries, and there's just a lot happening right now as we're getting ready to reopen. There's still a lot of fear and concern out there right now. I was working with a labor attorney this last couple of weeks, and he was talking about the resurgence of labor unions and the move that they're making with private companies right now, trying to capitalize on the fear that's happening.
So tell me, like, when you're saying that, what do you mean by that? What do you mean
So
by the more the interaction with the labor unions? Are they coming into companies and trying to take accounts over, or?
yeah, the organization efforts have amplified exponentially over the last couple of months. I was part of a union, but then I ran a company with a union, and I saw how unions thrive in an environment of fear, and that's what's going on right now. They come in as that third party that's going to be able to save you and offer you security from your mean employer, and that's what's happening right now. You're seeing it all across the country because of the current state that we're in.
So they're coming into companies and talking to the employees to say you need to join the union,
Yep,
essentially, in layman's
yep,
terms. Wow. And
exactly.
so how does that affect the employers? What's their opinion on that? And what are they, when you're coaching and working with them, what are you seeing in their
You know,
thought
yeah,
process?
it scares the death out of employers, especially if they've had a history of a non-union workforce.
Hmm.
Having the ability to run an organization, how you run the organization, could be taken away. And so, what I've been encouraging my people to do is just really communicate. It goes back to what we talked about in the webinar: communicate, really communicate, treat your employees like adults, bring them into the process. So, I mean, I liken these experiences to air travel. If you're sitting on an airline and on an airplane and you're waiting to take off and you're 10 minutes past your time of departure and nobody's talking to you, you start to get anxious.
Right, sure.
And the more a pilot would come on and just talk and reassure you, the more at ease you feel. And so right now with business owners, the tendency is to hole up, and hunker down and get through this time of craziness alone. And you can't do that because it ostracizes your employees. So really, over communicating with your employees, treating them like adults, and
Mhm.
talking to them and bringing them into the process of what's going on, your thought process, your decision making process, and just really over communicating what's happening with not only within the industry but with your company too.
But don't you feel, I mean, I can see that happening because we're all like, you and I were sharing a little bit before we went live on recording, and it's like we get zoomed out. We
Hmm.
literally get zoomed out. And I think having that collaboration of people together is, what are you seeing, or how are we shifting into this? Obviously, we all like to work from home because we're saving time and commuting.
Yeah.
And then we also hate working from home because we're always home.
Yeah.
But right, so how are you seeing people manage um, the culture in a company
Mm.
and the messaging? Because it's really hard. Even I personally go through this with the company I work for. Is there's 30 of us on a meeting, on a Zoom meeting, but it's really hard to share thoughts together someone will come on and say hello and nobody says anything. So there's that complete disconnection.
Oh,
So how are you seeing or
yeah.
encouraging companies to do this?
Well, Zoom is while an amazing technology to be able to communicate, it still offers that one-way audio stream. So you and I can't talk over each other. We can't have a dialogue. You have to wait for me to finish talking for you to talk. So it takes a lot of the spontaneity out of these conversations. You catch yourself. I'm starting to see more people, I mean, come back together live with social distancing measures. I mean,
Mhm.
we have to be, adhere to these social distancing guidelines, but it doesn't mean we can't be with each other. So you can still, I'm talking to employers and entrepreneurs that are going and they're meeting people in a field or it's something, in a parking lot, and they're having these conversations. They're live. They're within, they're not within the distance they're not supposed to be. But just slowly bringing that back, that live interaction back. I think, my favorite meme through this whole process was, at the very beginning, it said, I guess we're about ready to see which meetings could have been emails. And
Right.
it's true,
Right.
and so we've gone to the extreme now of everything is remote. And it's going to have to come back, because at some point, I don't think you're going to see a 40-hour work week or a 60-hour work week
No,
in
no,
office in a cubicle with many companies from here
I
on
don't
out.
think so either. I think you're
Yeah.
spot on with that. Yeah.
And so now it's about how do you manage that culture and how do you drive that culture
Yeah.
and provide ownership to your employees. You're still going to have, what I'm counseling my clients is you're going to need to bring a regular cadence, 1 to 2 days a week where people are in the office, whether it's split into shifts where, whatever it is, but you need to get that live interaction at the point where you can refocus together and not to be afraid of that. So it's
I
critical.
agree. I totally agree with that, because there's so much that gets done in collaboration and community of an office space,
Absolutely.
especially if you're working on, like we have, when I'm processing and taking I'm doing my loan applications with my builders, my developers, and I've got to ask questions with maybe the investment team or the risk analysis team, or even the loan processor for that matter.
Mhm.
And it's so much easier when you're in an environment. Maybe it's a day that you do that, everybody goes into the office together, or if it's a pod group, for example, if it's a team, Heidi Hawk's team, or it could be Tiny Irwin's team that goes in that day, right? And maybe y'all schedule out the day or the time that you're in and you practice safe measures. But I don't think we're going to see this, kind of going back a little bit here, is I don't think we're going to see these offices, what we call the bullpen room anymore, where it's one big open space and everybody's kind of in this huge space with partial walls, or even the computers act as a shield. I think we're going to go back to little 8x8 rooms that everyone's going to have,
Yeah,
because
it's
we're
going
going
to
to do
be
more Zoom meetings. We're going to
yeah,
do.
it's going to be super interesting to see how that plays. But the part about culture is, as a leader, you're going to have to be really intentional, like more so intentional than you ever have been,
Mhm.
about communicating, what your culture is, and how do you live in that culture, and how do you breathe that culture with someone that's not in the office 30 hours a week. They're at home.
So when you're, I had a few conversations with some presidents of banks recently,
Mhm.
and they have found that they're working from home loan officers, or they're working from home admin people. It's been very, very successful. So they're
Mhm.
rethinking on how they're going to take on their new commercial space, or when their lease is up, how are they adjusting it? And I'm sure
Absolutely.
you're seeing this from everybody. So costs are going to go down, which allows, let's talk a little bit about talent pool. I'm seeing a shift in this happening within my industry pretty extensively. The title and escrow company, I saw they let go quite a few people and reshifting everyone. Are you seeing that in other industries as well? Are people taking
Absolutely.
advantage of that?
Absolutely. You're seeing this is a time when people are shifting they're looking at new talent, they're looking at other talent, they're looking at overhead, at the costs.
Yep.
I was talking to a managing director for a law firm here in town, and they have a really expensive office space, really expensive, and for 16 lawyers. And none of them are working from the office now.
Wow.
They're all working remotely. And now the conversations turn to, do we really need to have this super expensive overhead? What could we spend that on?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so you're starting to see that. Those are the conversations. Another banker that I know really well, same conversation, was just on the verge of expansion. doesn't think he's going to need to do that now because of
Yeah.
the capabilities to work remotely.
So they're expanding maybe in talent, but not
Yep.
necessarily in brick and mortar.
Exactly.
You know,
It's given more elasticity to the expansion of human capital. You
right,
know, instead of spending $50,000 a month in rent, what can you actually do that provides a return on that? And
right.
yeah,
Well, I think it's investing in people rather
mhm,
than investing in brick and mortar. And I
absolutely.
think I think we're going to see, like, for example, people are hiring you as a consultant to help them manage their businesses better and
Right.
provide better, I guess, a better backbone to the business. And that's really what the Builder and Real Estate Forum is about, is to bring that value to the business
Mhm.
and to it's not about really how to invest in real estate or anything like that, or what kind of deals are out there. It's all about what can we do to be better at our business. And I do feel that there's so much information out there. As you get online, everything's kind of being thrown at you. Look at this, go to this meeting, go to this meeting. So we're going to be very selective, and it
Yeah,
has to be compelling from the beginning, and people want something within the first 10 minutes.
exactly.
So my question for you then is, when you look at this and just based on the last month of things, and I know it's shifted from the time that we first spoke in April to now. So what are three maybe things that you could do as takeaways for those that are listening for their business right now? And then again, I want to check in with you next month, because I'm sure between May and the end of June, we're going to see a massive shift, as we're already seeing it politically going on in our lovely state
Yeah,
of Oregon. But yeah, I'm curious, three takeaways maybe that we
yeah,
could have from you.
absolutely. Right now, more than ever, now is the time as a business owner to make sure that you have your business in order, that you've got plans in place, plans A, B, C, and D in place, and so you've got this opportunity right now to make these plans. So the second point is to really evaluate the people that you are working for you. Make sure that you've got the right people in the right seats for where you want to go. Maybe you've had an opportunity to pivot during these last, couple of months. Maybe you've had an opportunity to do an add-on to what you're
Mhm.
currently doing. Make sure that you've got the right people in the right seats for where you want to go. That's so important. And then, as we're rolling into this reopening, make sure that you're ready. Make sure that you're ready to maintain your culture, to build your culture, to enforce your culture, and make sure that you've got everybody online. And that comes from communication, communication, and communication.
Awesome. I love it, because what you're really focused on isn't not just the profitability or making money. It's really setting the foundation to a company, making sure it's completely solid so they can become profitable and do what they
Absolutely.
want to do. Awesome.
What I really do is I help the business owners with their human capital operating system, making sure that they've got the right people in the right spots, all marching to the same drum. Even when the owner and the entrepreneur is not there watching over their shoulder, you get the right people. You don't have to look over their shoulder.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not this
That's what I do.
microman, people aren't they can't micromanage now, right? It's just not going to happen.
No,
Right. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Tiny. I totally appreciate your time today. It was always a
absolutely.
pleasure talking with you. I know we're coming on to Memorial Weekend. Yay.
Hey,
Super excited. It's not going to be beautiful and sunny, but it's going to be beautiful to be away.
yes,
Right. Super
amen.
excited about that. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And we will be touching base with Tiny in another month, and hope you all have a beautiful Memorial Weekend. Hi, it's Heidi Hawk with Brief, the Builder and Real Estate Forum, and I've got Tiny Irwin back with us. And one of the questions I had in a previous interview with him is, what are the three top things that we're seeing as far as takeaways that a business owner can have, or someone who's an independent contractor? And he talked about planning, and he said that there was three things to get your business in order. And I want to clarify exactly, Tiny, what do you mean by that? You said get your business in order, have your plans in place, but what are those three plans? I want to get clarification on that.
Absolutely. I go back to Eisenhower. Eisenhower has this amazing quote, and it's a paraphrase quote, but it says, all the plans in the world are useless, but the process of planning is invaluable. And so for me personally, what I'm telling my clients is you've got to have a plan to go to reopen. Then you've got to have a plan just in case that plan fails, which it probably will. Then you've got to have a backup plan to the second plan. Then you've got to have a contingency plan, and then you've got to have a worst case scenario plan. Now, chances are, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. If you've got all of these plans, you know what the options are, you know where to go, and you know how to pivot. And that's the importance of having the plans and going through the process of planning, is that you've went through and you've looked at all the options.
So let's just do a little hypothetical company. Let's say it's just a builder. Let's just say small builder does about, I'm going to say 25 homes, because realistically, someone who might be projecting 50 to 75 homes this year is probably not going to be able to see that, because the jurisdictions are backed up. We've got, by the time we really open, the other thing we're going to run into, guys, because the funding for development money is far and few. I have found I do have a couple of resources for development money, very strict criteria, but it's really almost stopped because we don't know what's going on. What we're going to run into, Tiny, is a real issue with not having enough supply at the end of this year coming into next year of finished lots. So a builder who's projected out 50 homes is probably going to be really finishing closer to 30 homes this year. So somebody like that, when you look at these three ways of the three top things of planning, give me an example of what you might suggest.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, what I would do is in collaboration with the business owner, because it's not me coming in to tell you exactly what to do, but to help facilitate the conversation, the dialogue with the owner, because they're going to know their business better than I am. But what I'm going to, the way this facilitation goes is that, okay, so this is your plan this year was to do 50 homes. Well, now it looks like you're going to be able to do 25. So now you have to build another plan as far as your expenses and your overhead and your personnel. So now there's your second plan. So now if it looks like you're going to be cut, your revenues cut in half, then you've got to have a plan in place to what does your company look like. Then, so now let's say it goes even further than that. Now you have to say, okay, my third plan is, okay, maybe is strictly focusing on this type of a project. I'm going to take on these projects as well. So expand what your current base is. And then really after that, it's like, okay, so then, the fourth plan is that this didn't necessarily work and it's not producing the revenue I need. So now I'm going to have to go to this sort of a structure with my company, and then make it down to the point where it's like, hey, you may have had 10 or 15 people working for you. Now it's down to a 2-person shop. But if this happens and then this is how I'm going to respond. It's really about having that thought process in place so you can anticipate what the next moves are.
Well, I can sure see that is so critical right now to be doing that now, getting ahead of the game on that right now. So those of you that, I know there's a lot of you guys out there, you're independent contractors, whether you're in the real estate sector, the building, or anything to do with our industry, the home building related industry. I would definitely reach out to Tiny, have a consultation. We probably could connect directly and decide how much time they would be needing to spend with you. But I can see how critical that is, especially anyone who is carrying any type of employees, because that shift and you just nailed it. The revenue shift is huge. How do we adjust to that?
And it causes fear. It causes fear and anxiety. Right. And if you try to face it alone, you're not going to succeed.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
You've got to surround yourself with people that you trust.
Right. I'm sorry, you cut out there for a second.
Oh, you've got to surround yourself with people that you trust.
Right, for sure. Having that backbone of connections is huge. From not only your business consultant, your attorneys, CPAs, tax planning. I mean, this is going to be a dynamic year, I think, for a lot of us out there to really see where we're shifting coming into 2021, really going into the next 5-year plan. We've got a lot of shifts. I can get into the home building side of things, but that's going to be a whole nother little snippet I'll be doing, because there's a lot happening on that. But where we're going to be moving into in the next 2 to 5 years is going to be pretty interesting. I have a housing forecast I'm on this afternoon about the Washington State housing forecast. So I'll be recapping that and probably posting that also on the brief forum. But what I'd like to invite you to do, Tiny, if you have anything that you want to post on my LinkedIn page, Heidi Hawk LinkedIn page, or the brief page, I would love for you to post some things on there. Also, if you've got any videos that you've been doing that would be really compelling that you want to share, please do so. Any of you out there that want to do the same thing, I welcome that. Reach out anytime of any thoughts and ideas. Tiny, awesome. Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
really
Heidi.
appreciate your time.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah.